I have a 6-year-old son named Charlie. I got together with my fiancé, Hank, when Charlie was 2.5, almost 3. Hank was always good with Charlie. However, in kindergarten, Charlie struggled really badly and went backwards academically. It was completely unexpected because prior to him going to school, this kid was brilliant. I mean, even when I brought him to kindergarten orientation, the teachers were like, wow, he's wicked smart for his age, because he knew his numbers up to 100, knew how to spell his first, middle, and last name, knew how to write all his letters, shapes, and numbers, and was doing basic math. But about halfway through school, he started flunking. Badly. He no longer knew how to write his name. He couldn't tell you any math facts. He could no longer pick out his shapes and colors from a lineup. He just went completely backwards. Not even just academically either. He started being afraid of bathrooms, started having anger issues, etc. After many parent-teacher meetings, evaluations, etc., they gave him an individualized education program, IEP. About a month later, we get a frantic call from the school. My son had run away and they can't find him. They told me they are calling the cops. I leave work and rush to the school, 20 minutes at most. When I get there, they literally have my son pressed against the wall using a gym mat. He's screaming, crying, saying ow, throwing fists, trying to escape. He's claustrophobic and always has been. And they are literally just holding him snug against the wall with their backs turned to him, ignoring him. The cops are asking the teachers if they want to press charges. No one is telling me what's going on. I finally snapped after at least 3 times telling them to get off my son and screamed at them to get the frick away from my kid before I personally start laying people the frick out and give them a legitimate reason to press charges. They finally back up and my son rushes to me. He tells me the reason he ran away was because some kid, same kid that had been bullying him for a while, kicked him in the groin, and that teacher pointed to some woman in the corner with her arms crossed, glaring at him, grabbed him by the back of the neck to redirect him, her words, to class, and she scratched him in the process. He tells me that the kid that kicked him didn't even get in trouble. Sure enough, there was a bloody scratch on my son's neck. So I ask why they have him pinned to the wall, and they tell me that he apparently punched the teacher after she grabbed him by the neck to redirect him. She says she didn't intentionally grab his neck and was going for his shirt, but he moved. Anyways, it gets investigated. The cops don't do anything, and neither does the school, because it was a misunderstanding, and apparently the other kid had autism, so that makes it okay. And since he hit the teacher, they had reason to be concerned for her safety. I pulled him from school. I've been homeschooling my son ever since and working with a caseworker to get him transferred to a different district, but there's a waiting list. I refuse to send my son back to the school in this area and don't have the means to move right now. Well, Charlie can be a bit difficult with his work at home. He procrastinates a lot and tries to get out of doing work, but he always ends up completing it one way or another. But now Hank has been dropping comments since the beginning of the school year about how annoying it is to homeschool and how inconvenient it is. I've ignored him because he's not the one doing any of the schooling, and he literally works Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. So why he is complaining is beyond me. But last week, things amped up because apparently he's been wanting to take Mondays off for a while, and it just got approved, and he said, "You need to send Charlie back to school so you and I can get alone time. This is so inconvenient." I told him it's not his decision and he needs to butt out, that I'm not traumatizing my kid by sending him back to this district, and that when the other school has an opening, he will be going back. But until then, he needs to drop it. Now he's 100% on the teacher's side, whereas before he wanted her fired on the spot and arrested for putting her hands on my kid. He says, well, you don't even know what happened. Charlie hit her, so it's an eye for an eye. He needs to go back to school. Am I the idiot for telling him to butt out and that it's not his decision? He feels like he should have a say in this because he is helping raise him. ETA, I'm the breadwinner. I own the house. He pays his bills, insurance, vehicle, and the internet. I pay for everything else. I'm not sure what work has to do with my post. My son's in therapy twice a week and is seen by his caseworker once a week for 2 hours. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I feel like we're missing so much context here. Did no one look into why your seemingly gifted child regressed? Did you take him to a doctor? Then he runs away from school, but he is in the gym and they're trying to keep him under control by using a gym mat. I feel like you skipped from season 1 to season 3 and then to season 7 without telling us what was going on in between. It's hard to tell if your son needs some very serious help or if your son was the victim of like 3 things all coming together at the same time. And your husband is also the enemy. Comment 2. Not the idiot, and you need to kick your fiancé to the curb. He wants to throw your child back into a bad situation so he can get his kicks and is blaming a young child for abuse. Throw this worthless piece of shit out of your home that you pay for. He's no good for you or your son. Then get your son into therapy and his doctor and find out what else happened to him there. And speak to a lawyer about this and legally rain hellfire down on the school, the teacher, the cops, and the school district if you can. Now for the update. Hey everyone, it's been a hectic couple of weeks since my last post, and I've got quite the update for you all. So, buckle up because things have taken some unexpected turns. First off, let's talk about Hank. Remember how he was suddenly on the teacher's side and pushing for Charlie to go back to school? Well, it turns out there was more to his change of heart than I realized. Hank had been secretly meeting with the teacher in question to get her side of the story. I found out when I stumbled upon text messages on his phone. I was floored. The messages were not just about Charlie. They were flirty, with winky faces and all. I couldn't believe it. The confrontation that followed was explosive. Hank tried to play it off as nothing, but I wasn't buying it. I told him he crossed a line and trust was broken. Amidst all this drama, Charlie's been making progress with his homeschooling. He's been opening up more in therapy, and his therapist suggested that the school incident might have been more traumatic than we realized. It's been tough, but we're working through it. Charlie's been having fewer outbursts, and he's even started to write his name again. It's not perfect, but it's progress. Now back to the Hank situation. After our blow-up, things were tense. He apologized, but I was still hurt. I needed space to think, so I asked him to stay with a friend for a few days. During that time, I did some soul-searching. I realized that while Hank had been good with Charlie initially, there were signs I'd ignored, like how he'd get impatient when Charlie needed extra help, or how he'd make snide comments about the time and effort homeschooling took. I guess I was so caught up in making sure Charlie was okay that I didn't see the red flags with Hank. When Hank came back, we had a long talk. I told him that his relationship with the teacher was inappropriate and that his lack of support for Charlie and me was a deal breaker. He tried to argue that he was just frustrated and felt left out of the decision-making process. But I stood my ground. I said that while I valued his role in our lives, Charlie's well-being came first, and I couldn't have someone in our home who wasn't fully supportive. In the midst of all this, Charlie's caseworker came through with some amazing news. A spot opened up in a different district with a great special education program. It was like a ray of hope in a storm. I was overjoyed, and so was Charlie. We started the enrollment process right away, but life has a way of throwing curveballs. Just as things were looking up, Hank dropped a bombshell. He'd been offered a job in another state. It was a great opportunity for him career-wise, but it meant leaving us. We were at a crossroads. After everything that had happened, part of me was relieved, but another part was sad. Hank had been a big part of our lives for years, and despite the recent issues, we had a lot of good memories. The day Hank left was bittersweet. Charlie and I stood on the porch, watching as he drove away. There were tears, but there was also a sense of closure. We were turning a new page, and while the future was uncertain, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. My boyfriend cheats with his best friend, so I expose him online, but he overdoses, and now everyone's mad at me. The drama at school is just starting. Gonna try to keep this story short, but on Wednesday I found out that my now ex-boyfriend of just over a year had been cheating on me with his girl best friend for about the same length of time. I found a lot, and I mean a lot of her photos on his phone, like 50 plus just from the past 2 months. I was absolutely crushed knowing that nothing we shared together was ever genuine. He had brought her to his house for New Year's, the day before NYE, and had spent NY and day at my house. He had sent me a photo of her sitting on his bed. I feel so stupid for not seeing the signs, but she was my friend too. I always half expected him to cheat on me, but never expected anything would happen between them, and never thought it would have been going on the entire time of me and him dating. But there was more than just that. See, my ex and I had argued countless times because he has a pretty bad corn addiction. He would neglect me for months in favor of his hand, humiliating, I know, and I'd keep finding an insane amount of corn on his phone. I always felt like something was off about him, but I thought it was just that. Turns out, amongst his best friend's nudes, he had been saving photos and videos of his other female friends without their knowledge. Real people, without consent. I'm talking screen recording a friend's Snapchat story of her showing all her friends what clothes she got for Christmas, the whole 3 minutes. Things like that. I remember being stood in my bathroom while he slept in my bed, locked in with his phone and my phone. Yes, I was going through his phone, sue me, and just wanted to vomit going through everything. I decided then and there I was breaking up with him, for good, of course. But I also decided that these girls needed to know what he was doing. This is where I think I am the jerk. I posted on his Instagram story for everyone to see, just a black screen with some text, which I'll summarize. I'm a cheating piece of crap, and I secretly record photos and videos that my female friends send me or post publicly for dodgy reasons. My wonderful, now ex-girlfriend, has taken the liberty to carefully delete everything of everyone, including you, his best friend's name. So don't worry about your cheating being leaked. She'll be contacting the victims individually. Now, this is the thing I'm not sure of, since I very easily could have just messaged the girls I found in his camera roll directly to let them know. I did do this as well, so the story wasn't really necessary. I posted it publicly and his family follow him on Instagram. But I was so furious, I wanted everyone to know just how disgusting he is. Thing is, yesterday we were all at college. Me and ex-BF are both 18. And I saw him getting escorted out by safeguarding staff. He was taken to the hospital from school since he had overdosed. He has since been discharged and seems okay since he only took 5 to 6 ibuprofen. But it made me realize the extent of what I'd done. All of his family and friends knew now. I had effectively made him an outcast in every area of his life. My friends say it was all just a stunt for attention, but I can't shake this feeling. I don't really feel pity for him, but I do feel horrific knowing I could have been the cause of someone ending their life, even though I know he's done awful things. Am I the idiot? Edit. For clarification, since some people seem to be misunderstanding, I have not and never ever will spread any of the photos around, even the ones where the girls were fully clothed. The nudes from his girl best friend, if I need to use those messages for proof, will be completely scribbled out, since even witches deserve privacy. Also, he was able to secretly save the photos without the girls' knowledge, as they were either public stories on Instagram/Snapchat, which don't send a notification when recorded, or he used my phone to take a picture of his screen while I was asleep. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. If he doesn't want his disgusting behavior to become public, he shouldn't behave disgustingly. 5-6 ibuprofen? Okay, well, I guess he can play victim now. If I were one of those girls, I'd be grateful for deleting that. Comment 2. Not the idiot. Standard narcissistic behavior. In all circumstances, they must be the victim. You're golden. Don't waste another minute on thinking about his cheating butt. Hopefully they gave him a good stomach pumping with no lube. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, back with an update on the situation with my ex and the whole cheating and photo scandal. It's been a wild 3 days since I last posted, and things have taken some unexpected turns. So after the whole Instagram story blow up, I thought I'd seen the last of my ex. But nope, he showed up at my house the next day, begging for forgiveness. He was all tears and apologies, saying he didn't know why he did what he did and that he was lost without me. I wasn't buying any of it. especially after everything that had happened. I told him to leave and that we were done for good. But here's where things get even crazier. Remember his girl best friend, the one he was cheating on me with? Well, she showed up at my place later that same day, furious. Turns out she didn't know about the other girl's photos and videos on his phone. She thought they were exclusive, even though he was still with me. She was just as betrayed as I was, if not more. She had been defending him to everyone after the story went up, thinking they were going to come out as a couple once the dust settled. She told me she had confronted him after seeing him at my house, and they had a huge fight. She was done with him too, and she wanted to apologize to me for everything. I was in shock. I was mad at her for sleeping with my boyfriend, but I also felt bad for her. She was manipulated just like I was. In the midst of all this, I had been reaching out to the other girls whose photos and videos I found on his phone. Most of them were grateful I told them and were supportive of my decision to go public. But there was one girl who wasn't so understanding. She was actually mad at me for not coming to her first before posting the story. She said I should have thought about how it would affect everyone else involved. I tried to explain that I wasn't thinking straight and that I just wanted to expose him for who he really was, but she wasn't having any of it. We ended up having a big argument, and she said she never wanted to speak to me again. The next day at school was awkward, to say the least. My ex wasn't there, but everyone was talking about what happened. Some people were on my side, saying he got what he deserved. Others thought I went too far by making it public. I was feeling pretty alone until my ex's former best friend approached me. She said she wanted to help make things right and offered to talk to the girl who was mad at me. I was hesitant at first, but I agreed. Later that day, she came back and told me she had talked to the girl and smoothed things over. She said she explained how we were both victims of my ex's lies and that we should be supporting each other, not fighting. The girl agreed and even apologized to me for her reaction. I was relieved and grateful to my ex's former best friend for stepping in. But just when I thought things were starting to calm down, my ex showed up at school again. He tried to talk to me, but I ignored him. He got angry and started yelling, causing a scene in front of everyone. The school security had to come and escort him out again. It was embarrassing for him, but I couldn't help but feel a little satisfied seeing him get what he deserved. My ex gave up our daughter, but now wants back in, so I told her she's too late and Ashley's her real mom. Our friends sided with her and it stings. I'm using a throwaway so my friends and fiancé don't see this. I, 26 male, had my daughter Belle, 5 female, with my ex Jade, 26 female, 5 years ago. We were fresh out of college. She had just moved into my apartment with me and just starting our careers. When we found out that we were going to have a baby, Jade seemed excited and was planning right alongside me for when Belle was going to be born. But 7 months into her pregnancy, Jade decided that she didn't want to be a mother to Belle, saying it would just slow down the progress of her career and she wouldn't be where she wanted to be in life. I'll admit that I did argue with her about this because Jade wanted to put Belle up for adoption, and I didn't want that due to my own past with my adoptive parents. We eventually agreed that Jade would void her parental rights to Belle without going through the courts to do so. After this, Jade and I broke up, with her living at her parents' place for the remainder of her pregnancy. When Jade finally gave birth, she only signed the birth certificate and never held or fed our daughter. Jade moved away to the other side of our state and blocked me wherever she could. My daughter's maternal grandparents did send money to help support Belle, but they stopped after Jade asked them to. My now fiancé, Ashley, 27 female, had stepped in after she heard what happened between Jade and me. Ashley wasn't exactly a friend of Jade's, more like an acquaintance. Ashley had really helped me out through the first year of my daughter's life. We didn't start dating right away, we were friends, and things just sort of happened. Belle calls Ashley Mama, and it's been that way since she could speak. We just got engaged last year. 2 days ago, Jade reached out to me over the phone and didn't ask but demanded to see our daughter. Jade said she had matured since Belle was born and was ready to have a co-parenting relationship with me. I was in shock, and it didn't register with me what my ex was saying until she told me, Belle deserves to be with her real mother. That snapped me out of it and pissed me off, since Ashley had essentially been in Belle's life since she was born. That led me to telling her that she wouldn't be seeing our daughter ever, if I could help it, and that Belle had a mom who certainly wasn't her. Jade started crying after I said that, so I hung up on her. The few mutual friends we have got told by her what I said and have taken her side, saying that I had no right to keep Belle from her and that I was being too cruel. Now I feel guilty over what I told her, and I'm wondering, am I the idiot for saying that to her? Edit, to clarify, we just had a verbal agreement that Jade wouldn't be involved in Belle's life as a mother, which is what I meant when saying that she voided her rights, but we didn't go through the courts to do so. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the jerk, NTA, but you need to contact a lawyer immediately to start proceedings to ensure you legally have full legal custody. You won't likely be able to strip her of her parental rights, which means you should start collecting child support. The only way she would get out of child support is by legally severing her parental rights. You left yourself open, though, since you didn't even put something into writing with each other, signed with a notary. Comment 2. You're the jerk, YTA, not because you don't want Jade involved, but because you didn't go to court and have things dealt with legally. Your verbal agreement is not the same thing as having Jade's parental rights terminated. You don't need to be on Reddit, you need to be talking to a lawyer. Your fiancé can't legally adopt Belle without actually legally terminating Jade's rights. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the comments on my last post. I've had a wild few days, and I'm here to give you an update on the situation with my ex Jade and my daughter Belle. So after Jade's bombshell call, I was reeling. I talked to Ashley about it, and she was as shocked as I was. We decided to seek legal advice to understand our position, since there was no formal agreement about Jade's parental rights. The lawyer told us that verbal agreements hold little weight in court, and that Jade could potentially have a case for visitation or even custody. That hit me like a ton of bricks. Ashley and I spent a sleepless night worrying about the possibility of losing Belle. The next day, Jade's parents reached out to me. They apologized for stopping the financial support years ago and explained that Jade had convinced them it was for the best. They also said they regretted not being part of Belle's life and wanted to meet her. I was hesitant, but I agreed to a meeting in a public place. The meeting was tense at first. Belle was shy around her grandparents, but they brought her a stuffed animal, and she warmed up to them. They seemed genuinely remorseful and interested in Belle's life. They shared stories about Jade's childhood, and I could see the resemblance in Belle. When we got home, Ashley and I had a long talk. She was feeling insecure about her place in Belle's life if Jade and her parents were going to be involved. I reassured her that she was Belle's mom in every way that mattered, and nothing would change that. The next day, Jade called again. This time, she was calmer and said she wanted to apologize for her approach. She admitted that hearing me say Belle had a mom who wasn't her had hurt, but it made her realize how much she had missed out on. Jade explained that she had been in therapy for the past year, working on her issues. She said she didn't expect to just walk back into Belle's life, but she hoped to slowly get to know her and maybe be part of her life in some capacity. I was skeptical, but I could hear the change in her voice. She wasn't the same person who had left us 5 years ago. I agreed to think about it and talk to Ashley. Ashley was understandably upset. She had been there for every scraped knee, every bedtime story, every moment of Belle's life. The thought of sharing any part of that with Jade was painful for her, but Ashley is amazing. After a lot of tears and talking, she said that if Jade was sincere and it was in Belle's best interest, she would support a gradual introduction. We decided to take it slow, starting with Jade sending letters and photos to Belle, and maybe video calls if things went well. I called Jade back and laid out our conditions. She agreed to everything, grateful for the chance. I could tell she was trying to make things right, but I was still cautious. Yesterday, Belle received her first letter from Jade. It was a simple note, telling her a little about herself and including a photo. Belle was curious, and we explained that Jade was someone who wanted to get to know her. Belle looked at the photo for a long time, then asked if Jade liked ice cream, just like her. It was a small moment, but it felt like a step forward. As for our mutual friends, some of them reached out to apologize after hearing the full story. They admitted they had only heard Jade's side and didn't realize how much Ashley and I had done for Belle. So, that's where we are now. It's a lot to process, and there's a long road ahead, but for the first time in a long time, I feel like there might be a way for everyone to find some peace. Ashley is still Belle's mom, and nothing will ever change that. But maybe, just maybe, Belle can have a little more family in her life. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.